All right, thanks, JP. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's our last Insight of the year, kind of that, but it also how is it the end of the year? Uh, so before we jump in, I do want to have some news, some reminders, and then we're going to turn things over to the reader. But I'm posting right now in the chat a link to our new newsletter sign up. We decided that we were going to start doing newsletter announcements for upcoming releases because the feedback we've gotten since we've been mostly using social media is that a lot of people miss things on social media. They don't see the Facebook announcements, or they just don't care to be on social media at this point. So we thought we'd make things easier with an easy newsletter. We're not going to spam you. I'm not going to try and tell you multi-marketing schemes here, but this is just so that you don't miss insights moving forward, so dates and pertinent information. So feel free to click on that, give us your email address, and we will make sure that you know the next time an insight is happening. It goes directly to your inbox rather than somewhere lost in a social media feed. And then also a reminder tonight that books by our current readers and also past readers are on sale through another read through. Lisa, I don't know, I know you're in one of these squares if you want to pop up, has been our bookseller since the start of Incite and has wonderfully transitioned to doing things virtually. You can go on the website and you can find books from, like I said, current readers and past readers. So you never have to worry about coming to one of our readings, hearing an author you love, and then the next day going, wait, who was the author? What's the name of that book? And not being able to find it. It's all on one page on another read through's website. So I'm going to post that link in there as well, if it lets me. Oh, never mind, it's already up. Thank you. And so with that, I want to turn things over to our readers to talk. And tonight, we asked them to share on the theme of bear, just bear. JP and I, when discussing that theme, there were so many different directions to take that. But as we were thinking about the season and thinking about things like, you know, the trees are bare and we're entering into a season where the world just feels bare, we thought that would be a fun topic to explore. And I know that some of you like to prepare for when we have our community discussion. You like to be given sort of warning in advance of what the questions are going to be. We have two tonight after the readers are done. The first is, who do you choose to bear yourself to? And the second was, how do you respond to the bareness of others? And so that'll be, I'm sure, a great discussion later on. But without further ado, I want to get some readers going. So I'm going to introduce our first reader for tonight, Andrew. Andrew Huerta lives in Tucson, Arizona, where he has spent the last 24 years in higher education, teaching, advising students who are the first in their families to attend college. With his MA in creative writing and PhD in education, he just published a collection of short stories entitled A Different Man from Bold Stroke Books, and is now looking to complete his first novel, Raggedy Anthony. His short stories have appeared in Chelsea Stason magazine, the Roundup Writers Zine Pride Edition, Jonathan, the Storyteller, and the anthologies Queerly Loving, First Came Fear, New Tales of Horror, and Hashtag Queer Volume 2. His personal essays have appeared in Fashionably Late, How I Met Andrew, and Queer Families and LGBTQ plus True Stories Anthology. So please welcome Andrew to the main square.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. I appreciate the invitation and be able to share my book from you. So I am going to read from my book, A Different Man. It came out in September, so of course it's available. And the story I'm going to read is called A Kiss Between Altar Boys. So, okay. I had my first kiss when I was 13 years old. It took place outside of St. Patrick's Church in the priest's garden. It wasn't really a garden, but a half-dead patch of Bermuda grass surrounded by 5 or 6 orange trees. The trees had dark green leaves, withered-looking oranges that never produced juice, and trunks painted white from the ground to the point in each tree where it began to branch out. And the kiss was not with a young girl, it was with my best friend Liam, who was also 13 years old. We had just finished serving mass as altar boys at St. Patrick's in downtown Tucson, and it was an extremely brave moment for 2 of the most popular boys in school at the time. It was the last day of school in 1980 when we were both in the 6th grade. Summer vacation was about to begin, and like every last day of our Catholic grade school, we ended the year with a celebratory mass. Father O'Leary officiated that day, and Liam and I served as altar boys. This was back when altar boys had a great deal of responsibility during Mass, from washing the priest's hands after the gospel to ringing the bells when the Eucharist was consecrated and holding small saucers under the chins of parishioners as the body of Christ is placed on their tongues. We were also required to wear black pants, hemmed to hang right above the black laces of our beautifully polished black shoes. Liam and I were the best trained altar boys at St. Patrick's at the time, and Father O'Leary requested we serve him whenever he celebrated Mass. This was due to the fact that both Liam and I were redheads, and Father O'Leary said we looked like 3 Irish lads serving our loving God. Liam Seaver and Father Sean O'Leary, of course, were Irish, while I, Ernesto Quintanilla, was not. I am Mexican American, with both of my grandfathers immigrating to the United States from Mexico at the turn of the century. My red hair comes from my Mexican heritage, and I believe nothing about my appearance or coloring makes me look Irish. At least I don't see it that way. But people always see my red hair and automatically assume I'm Irish. They tend to overlook my jet black eyes, my dark brown skin, and see my auburn hair as a product of Ireland. While I would consider Liam to be a ginger, with his pale white skin, freckles around the nose, and red hair almost the color of a shiny copper penny, I am more of what you would call a burgundy, or a darker side of red. For Liam and me, being redheads really bonded us as best friends at a very young age. With all the bullying and teasing that takes place even in Catholic grade school, Liam and I were often called Carrot Top, or Fire Crotch, or Orangutan. And always at Christmas time, one of us was referred to as Heat Miser. Classmates would often walk behind us during the winter months and pretend to warm their hands at the top of our heads, which is not very amusing for a ginger or a burgundy. The older we got, the more sophisticated the name calling became. Eventually, our classmates realized Liam was Irish and I was Mexican. So Liam became the Red Mick while I became the Red Stick. So that day at the end of 6th grade, we sat together on a short wall behind the church. The wall was constructed of thick concrete blocks and it was no higher than 3 feet tall. It surrounded the priest's garden, which was located between the back door of the church and the front door of the rectory. It was late in the afternoon and all of the students had gone home after Mass, while Liam and I helped Father O'Leary close up the church. When we were done and Father O'Leary had said goodbye for the summer, Liam and I sat together and watched the remaining teachers load up their cars and drive away. "You gonna work this summer?" Liam asked. "Yeah, I start next week. My cousin's gonna train me as a busboy at my uncle's restaurant." "La Fonda, right, on the west side?" "Yeah, Mexican food and margaritas. That's my life this summer. What about you?" "Gonna go spend some time with my grandparents in New York." "Nice, get out of the heat." Liam looked over at me and raised one eyebrow. "So you got 4 sisters, right?" "Yeah, 2 at St. Mary's and 2 at the university. I'm the youngest." "They redheads too?" "Nah, they all got brown hair. I'm the only redhead." I think it's weird that you're a red." I think it's weird that you're a red too." Liam smiled. He looked me right in the eye, and for the first time, I did not turn away. He kept staring at me. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I didn't want to look away. I never stared Liam in the eyes before, and I couldn't believe how fucking blue they were. They weren't too dark, or they weren't too light. They were an in-between blue. And as he continued to stare at me, I began to feel an uncomfortable churning in my stomach. I felt like I was going to throw up, so I turned away and closed my eyes. All I could see was the blue of Liam's eyes. I shook my head, trying to think of something else. I knew Liam came from a strict Irish Catholic family, and his dad worked for the city as a garbage man. He was one of those guys who rode on the fender of the garbage truck and dumped the trash cans into the back. Liam was the middle child in his family, with an older brother who was out of high school but always in trouble with the law, and a younger sister who was also at St. Patrick's in 4th grade. His mom was a beautiful woman with short blonde hair and looked a lot like Audra Barkley or Linda Evans on the TV show The Big Valley. "You okay?" Liam asked. "Yeah," I replied. My stomach was returning to normal, but I opened my eyes, watched Liam scoot down the wall and sit closer to me. We were a few inches apart, and I stared down at our knees, which were now just about touching each other. "You know," Liam began, My brother was telling me about this movie that's out that's all about fags. It's got that guy Al Pacino in it, you know, from The Godfather. Al Pacino, I asked, trying to think of who he was in The Godfather. Yeah, it's all about these bars in New York where guys go to have sex with other guys. Doesn't that sound just sick? Yeah, sick. His eyes were wide open as he stared at me, and he had a bright smile covering his face. Have you seen the movie? I asked. No, he stopped with a short laugh. My brother saw it and he told me all about it. But can you imagine? What? Guys having sex with other guys? Is that what you're asking me about? Yeah, Liam stopped laughing. What? Why are you getting so serious? I was just joking with you. I just think it's weird you want to see a movie like that. I didn't say I wanted to see the movie. I just thought it was weird. Yeah, weird, I said. Everything's weird these days. I don't know why I said that. I just did. And when it was out there, I wished I could take it back, but I couldn't. So I decided to let those words hang out there until Liam said something else. Liam exhaled loudly, looked away from me. I know, he said, everyone calls you weird. Yeah, and everyone calls you weird too. They do? Yeah, they do. It's not just me they call weird. Fuck, everyone at this school is weird. Liam turned away and laughed. What? I said. You never used the word fuck, so that was really funny. I know. I'm a good fucking altar boy. We're both good fucking altar boys. Then, without looking at each other, without looking over or prompting each other, we both said, we're both weird fucking altar boys. While I thought this was funny and laughed out loud, Liam found it hilarious and laughed so hard, he fell back on the ground behind the short wall. His feet were sticking up in the air, his shoes at the top of the wall, and his back flat on the grass behind the wall. Liam continued to laugh. As I watched him grab his stomach and howl even louder, I began to laugh harder and fell back beside him. We both lay on the ground with our feet in the air and laughed for another minute or two. It wasn't that what we said was funny, it was that we're having such a good time together. We always agreed with one another and knew how to make each other laugh. When we stopped laughing, I thought about reaching over and smacking Liam in the stomach, but he was holding my hand at his side. I wasn't aware he grabbed my hand. Although I was shocked, I decided to let it be and see what happened. Again, I looked Liam in the eyes. I had never felt this combination of fear and excitement, and this time the feeling went much lower than my stomach. I knew I should probably lie on the ground for a few more minutes and calm myself down. Liam looked back at me and didn't say a thing. Without a word, I grasped his hand tighter. He looked as if he finally realized we were holding hands. He lifted his shoulder, leaned over, and kissed me on the mouth, his lips pressing against mine without knowing what to do next. Our heads remained together for a few seconds, but the kiss was like our two hands pressing up against each other without any movement. When Liam finally moved and rested back down on the ground, he said, "That was not very good." He laughed. "Then let's try it again," I said, lifting my shoulder. I moved my head over, separated our hands, and held his face steady. Doing what my older sister had made me practice a picture of Farrah Fawcett, I kissed him on the mouth. I tilted my head to one side, opened my mouth, and pushed my tongue up against his. When I felt him relax and respond, I let my tongue caress his, and it became a deep and intimate kiss. When I pulled away, he smiled up at me, and then we both looked around ourselves, forgetting where we were and what we were doing. The priest's garden was still deserted, and no one seen us kiss each other. The wall that surrounded the garden provided additional cover, so anyone in the parking lot or on the street across from the church, they wouldn't have seen us. We knew we were safe and still alone, so we rested our heads back down on the ground and held hands once again. When the silence had become unbearable, we knew we had to say something to each other. We heard a car honking its horn as it drove past the back wall of the priest's garden. "Shit," Liam said, "that's my mom. She always honks her horn till I come out and find where she's parked." Shit, I picked myself up off the ground. As we both slowly crouched upward past the top of the wall, we saw Liam's mom parked farther down in front of the church. She honked her horn once again, this time much longer, and looked around for Liam. Standing up, I noticed dead grass at the top of Liam's hair and brushed it off with the side of his hand. Without meaning to, I noticed I was also straightening his collar and making sure he looked presentable for his mother. I stopped what I was doing and realized I somehow had become the caring girlfriend who needed to stop primping her boyfriend. I lowered my hands in front of me and held them together, which also hid a bit of my excitement. Liam laughed. I gotta go, he said, adjusted the front of his pants and continues to stare at me the way he had all afternoon. So I'll see you next year? Yeah, see you next year. He turned and hopped back over the wall. But before he could turn away and rush to his mother, he said, what about your ride? Will your mom be here soon? No, I'm walking home. You know, I just live down the street about 4 blocks away. So what? Liam smiled brightly. You waited around just to hang out with me? Yeah, I guess. Liam looked over at his mother's car. She was still staring at the front door of the church. He looked back at me, grabbed my arm, and pulled me toward him, kissing me quickly on the mouth. With a smile, he let go of me and rushed over to his mother. Watching him run, I hopped over the short wall and stood silent on the other side. Thinking of next year, I smiled to myself, turned away from the church, and headed home.
Thanks so much, Andrew.
Thank you.
I love that that kiss that makes you forget where you are and what you're doing. So delightful, remembering back to many first kisses. I am excited to introduce our next reader, Mikki Gillette. I got to meet Mikki through Profile Theater's Community Profile Affinity and Writing Group, and got to see one of her plays performed earlier this year, and it was just, it was so funny and moving and thoughtful, and I'm excited that you'll get to hear some of her work tonight. Mikki Gillette is a trans woman playwright whose work depicts the trans experience in all its juicy, dramatic richness. Her play, The Queers, will be produced by Fuse Theater Ensemble in January, and her show, Mimetic Desire, is scheduled for production by the Pittsburgh Classic Players later this year. Mikki's work has been produced or developed at Artist Rep, Transformation Theater, the Outright Theater Festival, Profile Theater, and Post 5 Theater. And her short work has been published in Rushing Through the Dark, Barely Seen, and Fleas on the Dog. I'm going to drop her website in the chat so that you can check it out. And without further ado, here's Mikki.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm blushing. It was a very nice introduction. Yeah, I'm really excited and honored to be invited to read here. I'm going to be sharing a short play of mine called Intimate Matters. It's been selected for publication in the inaugural issue of In Between Literary Journal, so I'm looking forward to that. This play depicts a conversation that's very hard to have, that's politically radioactive, and that should definitely not happen the way it happens in this play. So for all these reasons, it was very fun to write. So there are 2 characters, Jenna, 25, a trans woman. She's attractive and confident with a wry sense of humor and a wariness born from some hard experiences. Niall, 25, a cis man, open, guileless, and easily embarrassed. He's prone to making faux pas and attempting to smooth them over. So when I'm reading Niall, I'll try to look this way, and Jenna this way. I enjoyed meeting you at the party. Thanks for coming out tonight. Of course, I'm glad you asked. Oh, when I said coming out, I didn't mean like because you're transgender. I just meant here. Right. Sorry, I don't mean to be weird about, I think it's great personally. Thanks. Have you eaten here before? The menu looks good. Yes. I hope that wasn't awkward just now when I said I think it's great. It was fine. Oh, good. How do you know Vince and Aubrey? Aubrey and I went to school together. How about you? I met Vince through work. I was glad he invited me. They're good party hosts. Definitely, when Aubrey invites me, I'm there. So Dave Chappelle, what the fuck, huh? I'm sorry? With the anti-trans stuff? Are you bringing up Dave Chappelle because I'm trans and it's the first thing you think of, like when you look at me or something? Oh, I mean, maybe? That's bad, isn't it? It's kind of weird. I guess it's good that you didn't ask me about surgeries before our appetizers came, though. Right, totally. You weren't just about to ask me about surgeries, were you? No, I mean, honestly, yes, I was. Wow. I was sort of working my way toward, I should just stop talking. Jesus, Vince mentioned you were kind of awkward. In my defense, you and I are on a date, so what exactly? You thought, why not bring up? No, I, thought we might at some point maybe become intimate, and you didn't think I would have shared some things before that happened? Oh, was I supposed to wait? I don't know. There's not like an authoritative etiquette guide on the matter. I think you're always on safe ground not asking people about their genitals. Right, sorry. We are on a date though. Yes, I believe you mentioned that. Right. I feel like you're just sitting there obsessing on my groin now. I don't mean to. It's what if I spent our whole dinner speculating indirectly about the size of your penis? Oh, I guess I feel a little self-conscious. I'm not surprised. Did you want to know the size of my? No, it was a hypothetical question. Right. Sorry. It would be nice to just get to know you a little as a person before, discussing those things. Oh, okay. What were you like in high school, for instance? Me, I was kind of quiet. Oh, were you a daydreamer? Were you a boy in high school? Oh my God. What? Sorry, it just occurred to me that Jenna gathers her things upset. I can't do this. No, wait, please, I promise. I wasn't trying to upset you. You asked what gender I was in high school, but you weren't trying to upset me. No, I wasn't. I was just curious, I swear. Okay, but it did upset me. Do you understand that? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to say why? I'm a woman. I don't want to be asked about when I was forced to act like I was a boy. That makes sense. Sorry, will you stay on our date, I mean? I guess. Thanks. In high school, I was mainly quiet because my mom died. And when I tried to talk about it, people got annoyed. Oh, I'm sorry. That sounds hard. Thanks. I saw a counselor, which helped, and my college things were better. That's good. I like counseling. Oh, did you see a counselor? Sorry about that. Never mind. You were going to ask if I saw, I stopped myself though. I realized it might, I feel like an asshole now. No, you shouldn't. I'm some first date fascist who's taught you to censor yourself. No, it's good. I don't want to be rude to you. I did see a counselor in order to get a letter for my hormones. Right. I thought that might have been the case. You didn't need to say it though if you didn't want to. Fuck, this is the most awkward evening, isn't it? No, it's, we're getting to know each other. Besides the topic I've said I don't really want to talk about, are there other questions you had? No, I was wondering when you thought you might be open to sharing about, seriously? Just because, it seems like we're getting along so far, so your optimism is bordering on the delusional. Huh? I mean, I shared about my mom and sorry, I shouldn't have said that. It's okay. I transitioned my freshman year, and even though I was a girl for almost all of high school, no guy would date me because they were afraid it would make them gay. Oh, sorry, that's awful. Why would a guy liking a girl be gay, It isn't. They were just stupid. And it's not stupid that you're fixated on the status of my genitals now. Oh, it's a little different, I think. In what way? Well, I agree that you're a woman, and I don't think my being here, regardless of, whatever equipment, no, that's dumb. You don't think dating me makes you gay. Right, exactly. Having said that though, and this is probably a fault of my own, can't really imagine, any kind of sexual activity I could pleasurably take part in that would involve, that is so basic, Niall. It's true though. I hate when guys say that. I like intercourse between my penis and a vagina, I mean. You should speak up. I don't think they heard you in the kitchen. Oh, right. It is how I feel though. Have you ever tried anal on a woman? I mean, it's similar. It's messy. Really? Okay. There's oral sex. There's you getting pegged while she wears a strap on. Jenna. All right. Sounds like you don't want to do that. I don't think having a boundary around something like that's okay, isn't it? It's hurtful. A lot of trans women will never be able to afford surgery. I understand that. And you don't care. You're just like, I only want. I do care. I've donated to people's GoFundMes. I think insurance should cover. So you asked me out to just roll the dice and see what I might have down there. No, I enjoyed meeting you and thought you were attractive. But if I did have a peanut, can you just tell me? Oh my God. Sorry, I shouldn't have said I had my surgery, Niall. Are you happy? I mean, sort of, or I meant I'm happy for you because I'm sure you, yes, I can tell my potential dysphoria was on the top of your mind. Do you hate me? No, your social ineptitude is kind of charming. Really? You don't think I'm unbearably dumb? No? Oh, wow. I thought from the moment I brought up Dave Chappelle, you'd been looking at me with contempt. Nope. Good to know that's the vibe I give off though, I guess. Wow, so you're enjoying our date. Oh, that sounded really desperate. That was a shockingly direct question. Right, sorry. Maybe we should look at our menus. I've had worse dates, I mean. Really? Oh, so that's good then, right? I still think your preferences indicate a lack of imagination on your part. Oh, I guess as a cis male, that's not your fault though. Maybe you could try the pegging thing you mentioned. I mean, if you want. Oh, wow. I just thought since you brought it up, right, let's see where the evening takes us. Both lift their menus, smiling. Ta-da.
Oh, thank you so much. That was fantastic. I felt like that feeling you get when you're at a restaurant and you're overhearing the awkward date at the table over, and you're just like, but in a good way. So thank you so much. That was wonderful. So, well, we have our last reader of the night up next. I am delighted to introduce Carolyn Wood to you all. Carolyn gained fame in 1960 as when she won Olympic gold medalist in swimming. At 14, she became one of a handful of child athletes to win gold. A lifelong Oregonian, she graduated Phi Beta Kappa from the University of Oregon and Portland State University, and taught high school English, literature, and composition for over 35 years. And taught high school English. Oh, whoops, sorry, I lost my place. She is a member of the Oregon State Sports Hall of Fame, a fellow in the Northwest Writing Project, and a past participant in the Centrum, Fish Trap, and Banff Writers writing communities. Her work has appeared in Teachers and Writers, Elohi Gaduji, I'm certain I mispronounced that one, sorry. REI Co-op Journal, Women Who Write, and Curve Magazine. Her first memoir, Tough Girl, was awarded the 2017 Benjamin Franklin Award by the Independent Book Publishers Association. And that's the book about her journey to win gold in the 1960s. But her latest memoir, Class Notes, A Young Teacher's Lessons from Classroom to Kennedy Compound, details the years she worked as a governess for Senator Robert and Ethel Kennedy's children. So please welcome Carolyn to the main box stage.
There we go. Thank you very much, Vinnie, and fellow readers. This will be less than queer, even though I am a queer writer. When Vinnie said that the topic was bare, first thing I thought of was Bare Naked. And then I thought of Shakespeare's Bare Ruined Choirs, and then Old Mother Hubbard's Bare Cupboard. And then I looked it up. The verb is to uncover, to strip, to expose, to display the adjective naked, undressed, empty, plain, basic, simple. The act of writing a memoir is an act of uncovering, exposing, bearing, and displaying oneself and the others who share your story. And to be bared is vulnerable. And that's the simple truth. So I'm reading from chapter 8, Recognition. A flashbulb popped and light exploded across the aisle as heads turned toward our arrival. Mrs. Kennedy, Courtney, Carrie, Michael, David, and Caroline. We hurried past the woman, camera in hand, who leaned out from her pew. This wasn't the first time someone had intruded. Another morning, an old woman had reached towards Courtney and kissed her cheek before I could hurry her outside. Today, after Mass, a semicircle waited near the door. Parishioners, tourists, who? We made a quick escape in tight formation with long strides, moving as a herd among jackals. All day long, sightseeing boats motored past the compound, the tour guides' voices drifting over the water. And here's where Ambassador Joseph Kennedy built the family compound. Next door, that barn-shaped house is the Robert Kennedy home. And beyond them, see the old airplane on the grass, is the president's house. Sometimes one of the little kids would look up and shout, "Go away." But mostly they ignored the intruders, as they might ignore seagulls or sand fleas. Disruptive, annoying, but not worth much attention. When someone in the news shop, a little grocery about 2 blocks from the compound, and a place Christopher and Carrie begged to go in the afternoons, stepped too close, I'd elbow between them and the kids. When a middle-aged woman seemed to stalk the girls one day in the grocery, I hustled them out and into the car, calling over my shoulder, "Charge it to the account, please." Nobody had told me what to do. I'd not been briefed on protocols. It just seemed natural to intervene, to protect a 5-year-old's or a 10 or a 12-year-old's space. Who were these people who wanted to grab a photo or hug a child or tell them, "I'm so sorry. Oh, you poor thing." These people who felt they knew Caroline and John, and now Courtney and Carrie. These people who mistook familiarity with personal connection. When we went into town, strangers crowded around like friends at a tailgate party, as if they were part of the family, distant cousins come for the reunion. They recognized faces from photos and called out names in the ice cream shop, the market, Howard Johnson's. "I know you," they seemed to think. I remember the night I'd taken the girls to see the Fantastics. After we'd finished eating, the manager and the waitress stopped by the table and wanted to introduce themselves and talk to the kids. The girls had glanced up briefly and then sat at the table in silence. "Thanks for stopping by," I might have said. Afterward, on the way to the car, Courtney whispered to Caroline, "I don't know how you'll make it. If they're like this here, I don't think you can make it in New York." I assumed she meant people gawking, people wanting to make a connection, to be acknowledged by someone famous. Well, weren't they me, too? Hadn't I been to Hyannis just the year before, a tourist looking for traces of Kennedy lore? Wasn't I taking photos from inside the compound now? Yes, I was. And writing letters home with details, edited to be sure that I asked my mother to share with my best friends. She typed my letters with carbon copies, editing out sections I thought too private to share. "Don't tell anyone the parts between the asterisks," I instructed her. I sent home color slides and later prints that she collected in a shoebox, numbering each envelope as it arrived, keeping them all together with her typed copies, and all the memorabilia I sent home from that year with the Kennedys. She was my archivist. I didn't want to think of myself as one of those people. attracted to celebrity. But I knew that if the Kennedys had walked through Portland 6 months before and I'd recognized them, I'd probably have stopped and gawked, even though I had some insight into the helplessness you feel as an object for admirers. When I'd returned from the Olympics with my small town fame, I developed a kind of fan radar that quickly detected intruders, found ways to outmaneuver them. Now I was using that skill to protect my kids from outsiders. After Mass one morning, Penny, the secretary, had the red book ready to give me my assignments for the day, which meant another business chat. Gifts for Courtney's birthday, party favors for 30 guests, mostly cousins, school clothes for Bobby. See Mrs. K for details. Oh, by the way, are you ready for this? Penny paused dramatically. Christopher yelled for Carolyn from the John this morning instead of Ina. He wanted you to come wipe him. Isn't that great news? I thought you should know. Thanks, Penny. I'm really in the know now. Secretly, it did please me because it meant he accepted me. Just like it had pleased me when Mrs. Lawford called me by name when she said goodbye, and when Mrs. Smith greeted me by name outside in the morning. I'd complain, commands could come, let's see. Oh, Mrs. Kennedy hadn't yelled at me recently, although her parting words yesterday were, see that the kids clean their toenails. Why do orders always seem like reprimands, I wondered. I'd complained to Lee, the other secretary, before she left. One day she tells me the boys have to get up for Mass. The next day she asked me why I woke them up. They need their sleep. Don't worry, just go along. It's not personal. She likes you. I knew I wouldn't get any sympathy from Lee. She'd been through it all, but I couldn't resist grousing. She makes me the bad guy. She doesn't listen. She just nods yes when the kids ask to do things they know they shouldn't. Then I get in trouble the next day. Lee shrugged. Oh, what are you going to do? Thank goodness I'd been in a college sorority and learned proper manners. I began to channel Mrs. McCready, our house mother. Napkin on lap, Carrie. Wipe your mouth, Michael. Mummy is coming soon. Better wash your hands again and comb your hair, Bobby. Here comes Mummy, stand up. And up we'd rise when she and Pat Lawford or some other guest entered. We were jumping jacks in the dining room. The morning that Jackie Kennedy entered the dining room, we instantly pushed back our chairs and jumped to attention. The room felt airless. I tried not to gape. My Mrs. K introduced me as she always did. This is our marvelous governess, Caroline. I'm positive that I said, how do you do? It felt that formal. And then Mrs. John said, I hear you've been driving the girls to the farm. Is everyone ready for the horse show? Yes. The Osterville Pony Show was scheduled for Sunday morning, and she'd returned from Greece in time to watch Caroline compete. The two women moved on to the sunroom, and we all finished breakfast. I feigned nonchalance. As soon as everyone boarded the Marlin for the daily picnic, I headed to town on shopping errands. From an exclusive shop where they carried baby and children's clothes, women's lingerie, and fancy bed linens, I had orders to bring back to the house baby gowns and linens for Mrs. K to choose from. She'd make her selections, I'd take everything back to the store, and they would hold them until the baby arrived. No one paid any attention to me when I stepped into the store. I pawed through the embroidered silk gowns and set a few aside. Little crib sheets, linen so sheer it felt like silk, were embroidered with flowers or ducks or ponies. If only I could afford some to send to my friends who had new babies. Imagine an unlimited budget, a bottomless credit card, and the most beautiful linens and fabrics you've ever seen. I was in heaven, although seemingly invisible to the two clerks in the store. An overdressed shopper, one I instantly labeled as nouveau riche, a term I had learned in sociology, strutted in with her two bratty children and gave me the Once over before dismissing me like dirt, I wrote home. A clerk stepped from behind the counter to assist her at the same moment that Jackie Kennedy poked her head through the door. The room went to freeze frame. She looked around, caught my eye, and I smiled and raised my hand in a shy, semi-sophisticated wave, like one Audrey Hepburn might have given in a movie I'd seen. Her eyebrows raised as she glanced past the gaping nouveau riche lady, smiled, and voiced a hush, "Hello, Caroline," before disappearing out the door. That recognition was better than Pat Lawford, Gene Smith, and Teddy Kennedy remembering my name. She only met me this morning, I swooned, my feet momentarily floating off the floor. I was the waitress and the manager at Howard Johnson's. I was the tourist in the sightseeing boat. But I was also the girl doing her job, buying birthday presents and baby clothes for a stay-at-home mother. A clerk hurried over to assist me, and off I sped to buy shirts, ties, shoes, handkerchiefs, socks, and jeans for Bobby, before heading home in time to remind everyone to wash hands and comb hair before dinner, and then to take Carrie and Michael to the club for sailing class awards. I brought along my camera and took photos of them getting their ribbons, feeling almost like a parent.
Thank you, Carolyn. It was wonderful to get that window into that world. And thanks again to all of the readers tonight. I appreciate getting all of these different takes on fairness and vulnerability. I just wanted to maybe do one more round of applause for everybody. And we're going to move into this next portion of the event, which is our community discussion. So for those of you who might be new